from the first sputtering engines after World War I to the advanced platforms of today. The story of Soviet and Russian tanks is a saga of steel, strategy, and sheer industrial might. It's a history that didn't just follow the rules of armored warfare, it often rewrote them. Let's take a journey through this incredible lineage, exploring every major tank family that rumbled out of the factories and onto the world stage. Our story begins in the 1920s, with the young Soviet Union looking to build its own armored strength. The first real step was the T-14, or MS-1. It was heavily inspired by the French Renault FT, a small and simple machine, but it was a crucial start. It taught Soviet engineers the basics of tank manufacturing. By the 1930s, things got serious. The T-26, a copy of the British Vickers 6-ton, became the workhorse of the early Red Army, produced in the thousands. But the real game-changer was the BT series, the BT-2, BT-5, and BT-7. These were fast tanks, built around an American Christie suspension system that allowed them to literally drive on their wheels without tracks. They were designed for speed and deep breakthroughs, a radical idea that would define Soviet military thinking for decades. Of course, there were also the giants. The multi-turreted T-28 and the absolutely massive 5-turreted T-35 were more about propaganda and intimidation than practical combat, but they showed the scale of Soviet ambition. Then came World War II, the crucible that forged legends. The Soviet Union entered the war with a massive but largely obsolete tank force, but two new designs were about to change everything. First was the T-34. It was a revolution on tracks. Its sloped armor wasn't the thickest, but it was incredibly effective at deflecting shells. Combined with a powerful 76mm gun, wide tracks for navigating mud and snow, and a simple rugged design, the T-34 shocked the German invaders. It was continuously improved, culminating in the T-34-85 with a larger turret and a more powerful 85mm gun. It became one of the most produced and influential tanks of all time, a true symbol of victory. Alongside the T-34, the heavy tanks carved their own brutal path. The KV-1, with its seemingly impenetrable armor, was a nightmare for early German anti-tank guns. Its sibling, the KV-2, was a mobile bunker armed with a massive 152mm howitzer. But these were just the beginning. They evolved into the IS, or Iosif Stalin, series. The IS-2, armed with a devastating 122mm gun, was a dedicated tank killer and bunker buster, designed to smash through the toughest German defenses. The later IS-3, with its radical pike-nose hull and hemispherical turret, was so advanced it influenced tank design for years after the war. Let's not forget the self-propelled guns, the Su and ISU series, from the light Su-762, the beastly ISU-152. Nicknamed the Zevro Boy or Beast Slayer, these vehicles put the biggest guns on the simplest chassis, providing crucial fire support wherever it was needed. When the dust of World War II settled, the Cold War began, and Soviet tank design entered a new phase focused on standardization and the threat of nuclear war. The T-44, a late-war design, served as the bridge, leading directly to one of the most iconic tanks ever made, the T-54, and its successor, the T-55. Simple, reliable, and produced in astronomical numbers. Over 100,000 units combined. These tanks became the face of Soviet light armies across the globe. You could find them in the deserts of the Middle East, the jungles of Asia, and the plains of Africa. They defined what a main battle tank was. The evolution continued. The T-62 was the first main battle tank in the world to field a smoothbore gun, firing fin-stabilized projectiles with incredible velocity. But the next leap was the T-64. This was a highly ambitious and technologically dense tank. It introduced composite armor, a complex autoloader that reduced the crew to 3, and a more compact design. While revolutionary, it was also expensive and mechanically temperamental. To create a more affordable, reliable alternative, engineers took the best features of the TS-64 and combined them with a simpler, more robust chassis. The result was the T-72. This tank became the quintessential late Cold War Soviet machine, mass-produced, exported widely, and forming the backbone of the Warsaw Pact's armored divisions. It was the T-34 of its generation, but the Soviets didn't stop there. They wanted a high-performance tank to lead their elite formations. That tank was the T-80. Its most distinctive feature was a gas turbine engine like in a jet fighter. This gave it incredible speed and agility, especially in the cold, but it was notoriously fuel-hungry and expensive. The T-80 was the spearhead, the high-tech brawler of the Soviet Army. As the Soviet Union began to fracture, one last major design emerged, the T-90. It was initially developed as a deep modernization of the T-72, incorporating the more advanced fire control system of the T-80 and new layers of explosive reactive armor, first introduced in the early 1990s. The T-90 became the bridge from the Soviet era to the modern Russian military, a pragmatic blend of proven technology and new upgrades. After the collapse of the USSR, the era of massive tank armies ended. Russia shifted its focus from mass production to modernization. We saw the T-90A and T-90MS with new thermal sights and better protection. The workhorse T-72 was upgraded again and again, with the T-72B3 variant keeping the old platform relevant on the modern battlefield. The powerful T-80s were also refitted and brought back into service. Then, in 2015, Russia unveiled something completely different, the T-14 Armata. This tank represents a radical break from a century of Soviet and Russian design philosophy. It features a fully unmanned turret, with the three-man crew sitting together in a heavily armored capsule in the hull. It's packed with advanced sensors, active protection systems to shoot down incoming missiles, and a modular design for future upgrades. While its production has been limited, the T-14 signals Russia's vision for the future of armored warfare. Of course, for every tank that went into mass production, there were dozens of experimental prototypes, the Object series. Vehicles like the nuclear-proof Object 279 with its 4 sets of tracks, or the various prototypes that tested new guns and armor concepts. These experiments were a hidden laboratory, pushing the boundaries of what was possible and feeding innovation into the production models we know today. From the T-18 to the T-14 Armata, the story of Soviet and Russian tanks is one of ruthless practicality. It's a philosophy that values simplicity, reliability, and mass production over refined complexity. These machines weren't always the most sophisticated, but they were built to be effective, to be produced in overwhelming numbers, and to win wars. Their legacy is undeniable, influencing tank design across the world and continuing to shape battlefields even today. The rumble of their tracks is a sound that has echoed through history. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like and subscribe for more.